The beginning of Paul Heyman's return story has started with a twist, so we'll see what's up there. We'll also check out what's going on with Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns, and more. Starting things off with the new direction for the War Games match with the Bloodline. Sami Zayn and the Usos found themselves in a similar spot to where they were at last week on Raw, and that's in a desperate state to try to find their final fifth member for the War Games team. Sami Zayn said he had a few more people left to ask and runs off. We see Sami Zayn discussing things over with LA Knight, but LA Knight turns down the offer. Knight says he does not care about helping either side of the Bloodline and would not mind if they just tore each other apart, which is a very respectable answer. All the babyfaces on the roster should have the same exact mindset as LA Knight, because both sides of the Bloodline had tormented the roster in recent years. So for someone to be preying on both of their downfalls is reasonable. But after some more failed attempts at recruiting a fifth War Games member, Sami and the Usos return to Roman's locker room with the unfortunate news that they have yet to find anyone. An interesting note about this segment is that Jimmy and Jey Uso do not deliver this bad news to Roman Reigns. Maybe they did not deliver the news to Roman out of fear of how he would react. Maybe they both have PTSD from some of the ways Roman has reacted to similar things in the past. Or maybe they simply don't want to hear his mouth. Regardless of what the reason was for the Usos refusing to give the news to Roman, it's Sami Zayn who steps up and gives Roman the bad news about their failure to find a fifth man. That's when Jey Uso finally breaks his silence and tells Roman Reigns that he needs to make the call. Jey does not reveal who he's referring to with the phone call, but all he told Roman a few times is that the call must be made. But before Roman can make his decision there about the phone call Jey Uso's referring to, Solo Sikoa and the new Bloodline head out to the ring, and Roman Reigns and OG Bloodline immediately come out right after them. A brawl breaks out, with the new Bloodline taking control of the brawl due to a surprise appearance and attack from Raw's Bronson Reed. Why is Bronson Reed here, and what made him agree to join forces with Solo Sikoa? Well, as of this moment, there's no real story explanation there. We know Solo Sikoa has been creeping around Raw in recent weeks, so it appears that Solo must have approached Bronson Reed with an offer during one of those last few weeks, and Reed agreed to it. It's not like Solo can promise Bronson Reed a WWE title match or anything of that sort, so it's hard to think of what Solo could have potentially offered him. Maybe Solo just offered Reed the platform to build up some more momentum for himself by taking out Roman Reigns. Maybe that's what he did to get him to agree to join forces with them. But the new Bloodline ends up winning the entire brawl due to the numbers advantage they have over Roman's group. And that has been a big reoccurring issue for Roman's squad. Roman and Jimmy have gotten beaten down for weeks because the numbers advantage was just too much. So they made the move to get Jey Uso, but when that was not enough, they went and got Sami Zayn. But as we now see, that's still not enough for the OG Bloodline to properly compete with Solo's new 5-man squad. So once again, the pressure's on for Roman Reigns to continue to reach out to individuals that he wronged in the past and try to get them to help him out. After getting ambushed by the Bronson Reed attack, Jey Uso once again tells Roman Reigns that it's time to make the call. And in a post-credit scene sort of moment on Smackdown, we see Roman finally make the call that Jey Uso was talking about all night long. Roman Reigns picks up his phone and requests for Siri to call the WISEMAN, which of course is Paul Heyman. But to Roman's big surprise, he hears an automated voice to tell him this phone number is no longer in service, and Roman cannot believe his ears. Now, a lot of fans are already taking this moment in one of two ways. So let's discuss both potential routes. The first thing some fans are pointing out is that Paul Heyman's phone number being out of service is a continuation of something happened several months ago. Back when Solo Sikoa was first going rogue, Paul Heyman tried to pick up his phone and call Roman Reigns, but Solo snatched the phone and stomped on it. So some fans are thinking that Heyman's phone is out of service because it was literally broken by Solo Sikoa back in the spring. But there's several plot holes and overall logic holes with this route and explanation. Firstly, it was revealed several times on the road to WrestleMania 40 that Paul Heyman had 2 cell phones. He had one with a Bloodline phone and the other one with a phone case for The Rock. So even if one of his 2 phones were destroyed, WWE themselves just showed us earlier this year that he had 2 cell phones, so he had a backup phone right there next to him. But even if they want to ignore the second phone from earlier in the year and say that the only one Solo destroyed was Heyman's only phone, are we expected to believe that Paul Heyman, being a human in 2024, went over 6 months without replacing his phone? That idea just doesn't seem logical at all. Phones are basically a necessity for everyday life in current day. So this idea that Paul Heyman's phone was destroyed in spring and he never got it replaced during all those months just seems a bit too comical and overall dramatic. How has he been in touch with loved ones and anything like that? Not to mention that all of Paul Heyman's socials and his website are still very active, so Heyman, or at least someone on his team, has a phone and other devices. So the direction that Heyman does not have a phone because it was destroyed several months ago is a bit of an iffy story direction. But the other thing fans are thinking is that Roman's call to Heyman did not go through because Paul Heyman either changed his phone number or completely blocked Roman Reigns from calling him. Now, you must be thinking to yourself, why would Paul Heyman do that? Why would he block Roman Reigns' number? Well, the explanation could be that Roman pretty much did this action of Heyman first. You might have forgotten, but following the events of WrestleMania 40, Roman Reigns cut off all communication with Paul Heyman. Roman ghosted Paul Heyman and left him fully in the dark for several months, without any explanation or communication. When Paul Heyman would attempt to call Roman Reigns to tell him what was happening with Solo Sikoa, Roman never picked up the phone at all. Paul Heyman had no communication with Roman Reigns that whole entire time that he was standing by Solo Sikoa earlier this year, even up to Heyman's final appearance, where despite being left in the dark for so long, Heyman still remained loyal to Roman and told Solo that Roman Reigns was still his tribal chief. That of course ended with a brutal beatdown on Paul Heyman, and since we never saw Paul Heyman on WWE television after that again, it's hard to really know what he's been up to. But sometime after that attack, maybe Paul Heyman finally thought it was time to match Roman's energy and block his number, so that he couldn't reach out to him anymore when Roman eventually needed him. Heyman spent months trying to get Roman to pick up the phone, but always got no answer. Even after the big attack on Paul Heyman, maybe he had his feelings hurt that Roman still did not call him or even check on him after that. And out of those 2 story routes, the idea that Paul Heyman is just ignoring Roman's calls and has him blocked seems like a better direction than his phone being destroyed from 7 months ago. If Heyman has Roman blocked, it once again is something that Roman has to be remorseful for and has to fix it up. Heyman was nothing but loyal to Roman, so for Roman to ignore Heyman and leave him in the dark for all those months following WrestleMania 40 was clearly wrong and hurt Paul Heyman so much on an emotional level that he does not even want to receive calls from Roman. And the fact that it took Roman this long to even attempt calling Paul Heyman is pretty bizarre as well. Roman returned in August and did not feel the need to give Paul Heyman a call all the way up until the 2nd week of November. So Roman has fixed a majority of his past relationships. Now he has to repair his relationship with Paul Heyman, while also continuing to hunt for his 5th War Games man. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.